Hello. So today I'm doing something a little bit different. Thought I'd come to you with a bit more of a candid conversation, a little less scripted, kind of see how it goes, see how I like it, see if you like it. We'll take it from there. For today, what I really wanted to talk to you about are the best and worst ideas that I've heard when it comes down to having a business that is ethical, very anti-capitalist, a business where you can have maximum impact and maximum freedom. So scarcity mindset is definitely one of the worst ideas, belief systems, whatever you want to call it, when it comes down to the right way to run a business. Scarcity mindset is this idea that you should always charge high prices for what your product or your service is, and people who have the right mindset are going to pay for them. And then people who can't pay for them or don't want to pay for them just don't have the right mindset. I first heard this when I was listening to one of the business coaches that I had become familiar with in the YouTube space. I won't drop names. And when I had heard her mention this in her podcast, the first thing that came to mind was, that feels gross. And it feels gross in a way that it did not sit right with me. Logically, I understand what that thought process is, and I understand why that makes sense to some people. But as a Black person, I honestly can say that there are so many people that I know personally who would love to be able to have access to this information, would love to be able to learn these things. And if they had the financial resources to do so, they would put this information into action. That was definitely something where I thought, this feels gross. And I don't know if I fully believe this or co-sign this, and I don't think I want to do this with my business. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have high ticket services, high ticket products. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that when you are providing something of value, especially something that has the power to uplift communities and to uplift marginalized people, it needs to be accessible. It needs to be accessible in many different ways. But when it comes to scarcity mindset, it needs to be affordable. And this idea that, if something is more affordable, it's cheap. And if it's cheap, then it's not good. People won't buy it. I don't buy into that. It just doesn't make sense to me. If you're familiar with my channel, you'll see that I posted videos about social entrepreneurship. And, I've always been big on this idea of, if I have a business, I want it to have impact. I've worked at nonprofits. I've volunteered with nonprofits. I'm about uplifting communities, especially communities of color, especially Black communities. This idea that if I have information that can help to lift people out of poverty, to help get people out of toxic work environments, why would I only share that with people who can afford it? For me personally, I am making sure that the information that I can provide, that it's accessible. So for instance, information that I put out on YouTube, it's completely free, and I want to make sure that it's accessible. And I always want to make sure that throughout my business, I have layers where I'm giving accessible information that people can actually realistically afford. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. Now, have I noticed that in the past when I've given people free resources that they didn't actually move forward with this information the way that they could have? Yes, I've noticed that. But that to me is not an issue of scarcity mindset. That to me is just a good old-fashioned mindset issue. And there could be blocks in there for that person that are preventing them from working on this free advice. That doesn't necessarily mean that the answer is to charge extremely high prices so that no one, quote unquote, wastes your time. No, provide the information, make it accessible, and then when people are ready, they'll act on it. That's something I firmly believe, and that's definitely something that I've carried into my Work Smarter, Not Harder program. So this past Saturday, I had my first free live masterclass for the power of part-time content marketing, and it was an amazing time. Such great enrollment, great participation. I'm a teacher at heart, so really it was just a great day. I was in flow the whole time, and I just love sharing basically everything I could within the time that I had. And if you're interested in getting the recording, it's down below in the description box, so make sure you sign up for that. But throughout this class, I'm showing Black women, women of color, how they're able to build part-time businesses using, content marketing strategies that can work for them, reminding them that it's not about laziness. Capitalism will make you think that you haven't achieved success because you're inherently lazy. No, as I've said in multiple other videos, that is not the case. Similar to how people want to lose weight. It's, not just a simple matter of, oh, you don't want to do it, you don't want it bad enough. No, like, you need effective strategies and tactics. And one of the best ways to achieve something like weight loss, or to achieve something like consistently showing up for your business, is to build habits around it. And that's something I talk about in that class. And throughout the Work Smarter Not Harder program, that is what I'm going to continue to deep dive into. Ways that people can learn how to do these strategies, learn what works best for them, fit it into the times where they're most energized, and build habits around them so that they don't necessarily think about them, they just do them. So when you have something that you don't have to think about too hard to do it, add mindset work on top of that, and it's a no-brainer. It's a done deal. You're off to the races. So I wanted to ensure in the development of my program that it was accessible in 3 ways. One, being the pricing, as I mentioned before. I don't believe in scarcity mindset. I think that that's capitalist nonsense. It's strategically designed to keep impoverished communities down. I don't co-sign it. I don't believe in it. Also, it's a community that's catered specifically to Black women and women of color, because we just don't have enough of these spaces. I've spent all of my academic life, all of my career life, always being one of maybe a handful of, I'd say, people of color in the room, because usually they weren't Black. They were other types of minorities, but they weren't Black. And, we shouldn't have to only be in spaces that are filled with white people to get access to this level of information, this information that'll really help us and help us to give back and help our communities. And then the third way that I want to make sure that this information and that the work in this program is accessible is that I want to make sure that there's nothing being held back in terms of quality. And I'll go over that in a few seconds. But this idea that, you have paid versus free programming, paid versus free content, that you save your good stuff for all the people that, will pay more and more and more. No, I don't really co-sign to that either. With my program, I will literally brain dump to you everything I know. Now, attached to that is just the amount of time that I have available. And so depending on the amount of time that I have to dedicate to a particular topic, that'll dictate how far deep into the rabbit hole I can go. And I love going deep into the rabbit hole. Like, I love sharing this information. I love teaching. I love helping people. Which brings me to the best advice that I've ever heard. And that would be, don't believe that there is a difference between free and paid content. Give people the full value, whether you're giving it to them for free, at a discounted rate, or at a high price. Give them the best of what you got at all times. And I love that idea. For one, it keeps things less complicated, and I absolutely love it when things are simple and not complicated. Like, what do you give? When do you give? How do you give? No, it's stupid. Just give them the fullness of your value. Again, you have to charge appropriately for your time, but give them the fullness of your value. And I just love that idea so much. Capitalism will have you thinking, oh no, you only want to save the best information for the people who can pay the most for it. Yeah, then you'll notice a pattern developing in terms of the haves and the have-nots. The people who can afford stuff will continue to afford stuff and always get the best programming. And the people who can't afford it will never have access to this. And I just think that that's just absurd. And that's just not something that I'm going to do. So, yeah. And that, my friends, is that. Let me know in the comments below if you found this helpful, if any of this resonated with you at all. Give this video a thumbs up if you like the style, more candid, less scripted. Let me know. Or if you like both, I'll keep doing both. I think this is fun. I'm happy to answer any questions you have in the comments below. Again, grab your free recording of the masterclass that I just did, The Power of Part-Time Content Marketing, in the description box below. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at A Tribe Called Liz, when I'm not being absurd or posting my desserts, I'm actually giving some pretty handy business strategy and mindset tips, especially for Black women and women of color. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's all I got. Did I forget anything? I don't know. I didn't write a script for this. Thanks for watching. See you later.